Hello, my name is Hristo Bakalov. Today I'll be talking about my project. The name of the project is the Linux virtual network behind Endian Firewall. This project is aiming to demonstrate the process of setting up a network in a virtual environment. It will include a firewall, which will be used to monitor and filter the internet traffic. This firewall will have internet connection, and it will share that connection to the other virtual machines. Network will consist of two segments. One segment is for the work host, and then the other segment is going to be for the servers. The subject of this project. So, as the trend suggests, cloud computing is gaining more and more momentum in the corporate environment. However, smaller or newly appearing businesses most of the time will not have the financial resource to hire such a service. That's why they will count on local on-premises networks and services. Most recent and most appropriate way to build such an environment is by virtualization. In such case, you have many virtual machines on fewer hardware devices. Each machine will have its own purpose, and these machines will also need to be connected to the internet. That's why we need a firewall. The project also includes firewall in building the network. The product that I chose for this project is Endian Firewall. This is Linux-based product that it includes open source router, firewall, and gateway security tools. Also a lot of tools, but these are the main things that we'll use for this project. So there are two versions. One is free for home use. The other one is commercial that has 24/7 service from the team, support service from the team, but this one is paid. The other main product we're using is the Apache Web Server. This is well-known product for web server that can be used for hosting a personal website. Then VMware, this is VMware Player we're using for this project. It supports over 200 guest operating systems, which is it's a good flexibility for it. And VMware is going to be used to build the virtual machines. Here is the network diagram. As you can see, firewall connects to the internet. On the left is the workstations, can be laptop, PC, or whatever. On the right is the segment for the servers. So the steps to do that is first to download the needed software. I started with the VMware download. Here is the link. Next step is the Endian. Then we're downloading the Ubuntu OS. We're going to use that to connect to the Endian Firewall and manage it from there. Now we're downloading Ubuntu Server software package. Windows XP. I chose Windows XP because it's already free, since it's not supported anymore, but it's good for testing of the VM virtual environment. And CentOS, I'm going to use this for network file sharing. Next step is to create some virtual machines. First, we have to install the packages that we downloaded. We're going to install them on our hardware, and then from there we're going to start with the VM player. VM player is going to be installed, and we're going to have that window, which is number one. That from that window we can start creating the virtual machines. The virtual machines are placed on a specific directory. So step number 2 in this slide is to get the location of each virtual machine. Step number 3 is to assign the required hardware, or whatever hardware is preferred. Hardware resources are preferred. And then once everything is done for each virtual machine, we test it to make sure that they power on normally. The next very important step is to configure the network adapters for each virtual machine. We start with the Endian Firewall. The Endian Firewall will have three network segments. One segment is to connect to the internet, and the two other segments are for the server. The two other network adapters will be for the server segment and for the workstation segments. So we configure it as follows. So first of each virtual machine will have a network adapter that is connected to the related segment in the Andean firewall. That way we're gonna have the network mapped correctly. And once we have all the network adapters set and connected to the corresponding segments, we can go ahead and start configuring the firewall. I'm going to demonstrate right now. First, we're going to go ahead and power the Andean firewall. I had it suspended, now it's already powered. The second virtual machine that we need, it's the Ubuntu OS. Ubuntu OS, as I said earlier, is going to be used to connect to the Andean firewall and manage the settings. So there is a lot of settings, as I said, and for the project we're going to just explore very few of them. I had that to test the Apache server, but now we're going to go ahead and connect to the Andean firewalls. How we do that is, first we already have a management URL. Once the Andean firewall is loaded, we type this in the web browser. I'm gonna go ahead and do it again. Just press enter and refresh it. And once we have the connection, we're gonna go through the process of setting up. There is network configuration. We start with this window originally. So we set the firewall as routed. Ethernet DHCP for the red zone is enabled. We set the orange segment, which is going to be for the servers, and then the green zone it's already preset. So for the orange zone, I do choose what IP to use as a starting point, and then this is the mask. From there we just press next, next, next. This is, we don't need that, and OK, and apply configuration. I'm going to cancel it in this case. So this is how you configure the Andean firewall. Next is to set up some rules. So we have the Andean firewall. The rules that we're going to set up are for the network filtering, as we can say. So we have the firewall enabled. Now we're going to set up some rules for the traffic between the virtual machines and outgoing and ingoing traffic. So go to firewall, internet interzone traffic. This is going to be between the green, 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 orange, 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 green. This is rules that we need to set up. Then we have for the outgoing traffic, what can connect to the internet and which protocols are allowed to connect to the internet. Now, next thing that we're going to do is setting up the CentOS as an NFS server. This is already done. I'm going to go ahead and power it on over here. CentOS, play virtual machine, and CentOS. We have to go ahead and set up anything from the terminal. On the slide is listed how to do that. Once everything is set up, we have to download and install we have to connect the CentOS, ping it. We have to install the network management services for CentOS in order to go ahead and configure it to connect to the network. That network is going to be tested with Ubuntu OS. I'm powering on the CentOS, and once the NFS server is already installed over here on the CentOS, and I already created some files to share with the other machines. So it's in documents, docs. These docs are shared, and I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how this connects to the Ubuntu OS. So the Ubuntu OS first had to be connected had to be set with NFS services enabled as well. We do create a directory, which directory is going to be used to link to the directory in the NFS server, and from there we can actually just manage the files. There is a lot of things that can be done, for example permissions and who can delete, like permissions wise stuff. Okay, so on Ubuntu OS I have the directory already created. It's in documents. We're gonna go ahead and open the documents, and it's shared. It's called shared. Once we open shared, they're already connected, so we can see the same files. Okay, how we're gonna test that? Let's say we're going to move this to trash, and it disappears here as well in CentOS. If you want to bring a document back, or any document here, you just drag it and it appears in CentOS as well. Next step that I did for this project was to set the Apache server on the Ubuntu server machine. I'm gonna go ahead and power on the Ubuntu server. I already had the Apache set on the Ubuntu server. The slides are listing how to do that, and I also configured the initial site for Apache, which usually lists. This is the default page for Apache. I configured it. As you can see on the right, it says the default page for Chris. I'm gonna show you in a minute. So once everything is set, I did the testings, how it connects to the Ubuntu OS and the Windows as well. So I already have the server on. I have the Ubuntu OS on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open the browser, and I'll go ahead and put the Ubuntu server IP. What I also did is I set a static IP for that server. This is listed on the slides as well, and that IP in this case is this 192.168.2.2. Okay, and there we go. This is the default web page for Chris, which I modified earlier, and this connects our system to the server. So we're gonna go ahead and test that with Windows. I'm gonna go ahead and play Windows Virtual Machine. There we go. No, we're not going to download and install. We're gonna put the same thing in the browser. Oh, here we go. I already tested that earlier, and it opens in Windows. Windows is connected to the server as well. Next step. Okay, so I did add some firewall rules to filter websites. So going to back to the Ubuntu OS right here. I'm going to show where it's okay. So where I did that is went to the proxy settings. It was a DNS setting. We made the green zone transparent, and we did some anti-spyware services enabled. There I decided to add Amazon domain and Facebook domain, just for the idea of the project, and I tested if they are blocked. I tested them on Ubuntu OS and the Windows. So we're gonna go ahead and try to connect to, let's say in Ubuntu, we're gonna try Facebook. No, Amazon. I already tested Amazon. Okay, let's try Amazon. Okay, and it's blocked. This is blocked by the Endian firewall. Let's try on Windows. On Windows, we're gonna try Facebook this time. Facebook. What it shows is a little bit different because we're using different browsers. Let's try the Amazon. Okay, and the same thing. So what are the benefits of this project? Well, I learned a lot. I learned a lot how to set up virtual environment. There were a lot of challenges, how to connect the NFS server, how to set up the NFS server, how to connect it to the other machines in the network. That was a challenge. It needed a lot of research. But yeah, the concepts, how to make a virtual environment with servers and work hosts and protect them with a firewall, it was really touched by this project. So it was very beneficial for learning how to do this thing. So the further resources for future interest, this is the NDM firewall software manuals. There's a lot of things there that can be learned. Then the Apache manuals, how to create your own website and how to host it, how can be multiple websites, who can see it, where they can be seen, and bunch of features. The references that I used for this project are listed as well over here. It's all related to CentOS, Ubuntu, Apache, the firewall, NDM firewall. And pretty much that's all from me. Bye.